Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me again on this next episode of the LymeBoss podcast. Hello, I'm Heather Gray, aka the LymeBoss. I got special guest and friend here today, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. I'm so excited to talk to her because she's kind of one of those rebel out there, is not afraid to talk about some of like the really tough stuff. And so, but before we jump in, hey there, I'm Heather Gray. I help professionals with embarrassing gut issues, chronic brain fog, and massive all-day pain, right? Could it be undiagnosed Lyme disease? I know it was for me. And if you want to dig deeper into finding out what the cause of those issues are, please don't hesitate to hit me up later, like, subscribe, share these things. Let's get the word out, right? That's why we do this. So, no further ado, let's get into welcoming Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. Hello, thank you, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather, for having me here. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun.
Yay, it is going to be so much fun because I said from the time that I met you at Mindshare, we were just like sharing some of our like deepest, darkest secrets,
I know,
within like the
it's
first 10
awesome.
minutes. Like, I'm like, this woman can go deep and vulnerable. And it's beautiful because that's when change happens, right? We've
Yes.
had this weird tight-lipped, especially around sex and sexuality and sexual health, which is what we're going to talk about today, and so many people suffer, right? Unnecessarily because of this weird stigmas and taboos and bullshit. That's why I'm always talking about mental health and like sexual stuff. Like let's talk about it all because it needs to all be brought to the light. So thank you for being on the show and going to get vulnerable with me today and probably piss some people off and inspire some other people and make everybody else laugh and all, everything in between.
Sounds great. I love it.
Yay. So tell me, how did you get to be an OGBYN? Like, why did you get into that line of work? And then I noticed you've, kind of veered just a little bit off of like what a traditional OGBYN does and talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I definitely did not go to medical school to be like, I want to look at vaginas all day long. Like, that was definitely not my goal. In fact, I was like, who would do this all day long? And I started out actually as a general surgeon. And I was on my general surgeon residency, and I was walking around and like I wanted to kind of connect with patients more. And so I was the one who would be like, so how do you feel now that your gallbladder's out? How do you feel now that your appendix is out? And so that really wasn't where I fit in. So general surgeons are amazing at what they do, but they're really good body mechanics. Like they just want to get in there, fix things and get out. Like they don't want to be like doing the chit chat. So I was like, oh, I kind of need a profession where I could do a little of the chit chatting too. So that's where I found gynecology. And so I ended up switching into gynecology. But even then, it was very heavy into delivering babies. And I like to sleep. So the fact that babies come all times of the night, like that was not working out for a lifestyle for me. So next thing you know, I come home and I tell my mom at the time, I'm going to go for 2 more years of training on top of everything else I just did, which was a year of internship, 2 years general surgery, 3 years of OBGYN. And then I'm like, I'm going to do urogynecology. And my mom's like, urogynecology, what is that? Is that like Euro Disney? Is that like a fancy kind of like European? And I'm like, no, it's Euro, like having to deal with
bougie. It's bougie.
Yes, it's the bougie gynecology. And actually, it's funny because I actually just got a costume that I'm going to do a funny TikTok at some point with about urogynecology. Haven't done it yet, but
oh my gosh, that's it too, guys. If you don't follow her on TikTok and Instagram, like her posts are freaking hilarious. Like truly, truly, educational and hilarious. But yeah, sorry, continue.
No, that's great. Thank you. So yeah, urogynecology has to do with urology, having to do with the urinary system. So bladder health, pelvic health, and also just the female pelvic organs. So I kind of fell into that and I was like, oh wait, this is what I want to do. And then here I am. And then actually it was through really more having my own problems. So, all right. So we're going to do like a little, admission here. Like I was the person who, from the time I got my periods, had yeast infections. Like I couldn't look at a piece of bread without getting a yeast infection. And so like I think of like yeast as like almost like Darth Vader. It became my like arch nemesis. Like I have to cure the world of vaginitis. And so I became really interested in vaginitis and the micro, and then that led me down this like rabbit hole of the microbiome. And now I'm just like so incredibly fascinated by the microbiome, our gut microbiome, our vaginal microbiome, like, and finding out more and more of what it does. And I'm like, my mind is blown. And I'm like, why wasn't I taught this in medical school too? So
Look at all the
yeah.
beautiful research that's, I mean, between the microbiome in your mouth and, the
Yes.
microbiome in your gut, the connection with the brain, like it's a beautiful time to be in this area of study. And thank you for ruining, I don't know if it's ruining, but now every time I'm going to hear Darth Vader, I'm going to think
Yes.
yeast infection. So thank you for
Dun,
that.
dun,
I think,
dun,
I know,
dun,
right?
dun.
It used to be my ringtone. I'm kind of a bit of a Star Wars geek. And now,
Yes.
yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I too, like, it was ridiculous how many UTIs and yeast
Yes.
infections I had when I was a kid, like ridiculous. And then after,
Yes.
and then you get into being sexually active and Jesus, that was even 10 times worse. It was like, it was almost like, I don't know, it was like a very, for a while there, it was a deterrent for me of
Yes.
having sex because I would always end up with with some sort of cooties afterwards. It was
Oh
horrible.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then there's a lot of shame and guilt and like, what am I doing wrong? Am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? And then you
God
actually,
is punishing me for having sex.
yes, yeah. And then you actually find out the statistics, there's 80% of women will have a pelvic health problem at some point in their lives. But we're not talking about it. Like there was another study that came out saying 65% of women can't say the word vagina without being uncomfortable. And I'm like, wait a minute, if we can't talk about it and 80% of us are having these problems, like how are we going to bring awareness? How are we going to get better? How are we going to ask for help? So that's my mission, is to kind of normalize the conversation behind everything below the belt. So
No, and this woman truly does. Like I've seen her on stage in like a full-on vagina costume. So like
yes.
bringing, awareness and talking about this is this woman's like middle name. It's actually quite hilarious. And she ended up winning that year for that talk, didn't you?
Yeah, it was funny. I got to get that up on YouTube. I haven't put it up yet. I got to do that. So
Yeah, there was another guy there that was like pissed. Someone
yes.
in a vagina, blah blah costume won the talk, and I was like, no, she also won the talk because it was a phenomenal freaking talk. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, the vagina costume definitely helped seal. She like ripped off her clothes and was like a vagina. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, super vagina, big V on my chest. Yes.
So, talk to me a little bit more about vaginitis. Like, what is that? Specifically, like how does that differ from a yeast infection, or is it different from a UTI and the bacteria stuff? Like what is vaginitis?
Yeah, so vaginitis, just the word itself, means inflammation of the vagina. Ta-da, like that's it. So itis just always means inflammation. And so it doesn't really particularly knock down what is causing it. But for the majority of people, and the majority of cases that are occurring, is because the microbiome, that bacteria or yeast or those microbes that are in the vagina, have somehow become unbalanced. And now you get either overgrowth of yeast, you get overgrowth of sometimes parasites, sometimes you can get overgrowth of bacteria. And so something has thrown things off. So that's the majority of cases. There are some other inflammatory conditions that can cause a vaginitis, or even lack of hormones from either being pregnant, breastfeeding, or going through menopause. It can cause a different type of vaginitis, which comes from a thinning of the tissue, which causes itching, irritation. But for the most part, a good majority of what women are experiencing is they're just have what I call unbalanced vagina syndrome.
Unbalanced
Just,
syndrome.
yes, yes.
Unbalanced.
Vagina's unbalanced.
My vagina's unbalanced.
Yes.
Vagina's unbalanced. I love that. And then so what are some of the ways that what causes this imbalance of the vaginas?
Yeah. So in traditional medicine, we always look at and we test the vagina, and we're looking at yeast, we're using at bacteria, we're looking at parasites, and you're typically giving a medication for one of those things. And you're thinking like, oh, great, I'm good. And you do the medicine and it goes away, but it only goes away temporarily. So some women are lucky and it goes away and it's good and it doesn't come back. But for a majority of women, it keeps coming back. Because the vagina is really a reservoir of bacteria or yeast or microbes. And where the imbalance is often occurring is it's often occurring in the gut first. So, especially when we're talking yeast. So,
Wait. So you've
yeah,
heard the expression, if you got a leaky gut, you got a leaky brain. Now, if you've got
yeah,
a leaky gut, you've got a leaky vagina?
yes,
Oh my
yes,
God.
yes. And potentially a leaky bladder in more ways than one, too.
Oh.
Yes, because the vagina is sitting right next to the bladder. If the bacteria is imbalanced in the vagina, that's now closer to the urethra, the tube you pee through. So those bacteria can now get up into the bladder and now cause the microbiome of the bladder to be thrown off, increasing risk of urinary tract infections. So it's all connected. So especially for women, we got 3 holes down there, and all 3 holes are a place where bacteria can go. We got the butt hole, we got the vagina hole, we got the urethra hole. So it's all, bacteria is very, and it's not a cleanliness thing. People think like, oh, it's a cleanliness thing. No, that's how we were made. In proximity, everything is so close. So no matter how well you clean, it's very easy for bacteria to transfer back and forth through all those areas.
Well, and
So
there's actually some argument that the part of the whole destroying of, antimicrobial soaps and sterilizing
yes,
everything is part of the reason we've gotten some of these issues to begin with, is because we are bacterial beings, like, first and foremost, and it's learning how to play within that balance, right, is where we get the true health from. So
yeah,
not,
yeah.
not necessarily a cleanliness thing, but there are things like temperature, right? And certain clothing material that can lead its way to being more conducive to causing the bad guys to overgrow. No?
Yes, so those yoga pants are probably one of the worst things, unfortunately. I love a good pair of yoga pants, but you got to get out of them as soon as possible. You don't want to go to your like yoga or exercise class and then run around, do all your errands in the same pants all day, because especially yeast likes warm, wet, dark environments. Well, that is your vagina in a pair of yoga pants. That's your vagina in a wet bathing suit. So yeah, we need to, no joke, you need to like air things out. And so I always recommend people like come home, put on a loose pair of sweatpants, boxer shorts, whatever, anything, like sleep without underwear, sleep naked if you can. Just air things out as much as possible. Yeah.
Does it matter if the yoga pants are cotton or not?
It's just more that if they get sweaty and you want to just try to change into like dry clothing as soon as
God.
possible. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I saw your video of a woman. You wore those, like, what do they look like? Pleather, right? They look like
I love
leather.
those pants, but they're a
You're
yeast
like, yeast
infection waiting,
infection, exactly, waiting to happen.
waiting to happen.
I was like, I wanted to get a pair too, and I heard you in the back of my head going, yeast infection waiting to happen. I was like, yeah. So now when I see other women wearing those things, I think of that. And even just like some of them, leggings, like that Lululemon stuff, like that shit's really like become such a staple in so many women's attire. And that's probably one of the worst things we can wear, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just gotta like just if you're gonna wear them, just get out of them as soon as you can and like let things air out. So yeah, definitely.
You're Winnie the Poohing it for the rest of the day, right? Your husband will be like, why are you walking around the house with only a shirt on? Because I've been wearing leggings all day and I need it to air out.
Exactly. I like that Winnie the Pooh reference. That's great.
Yeah, Winnie the Poohing it. Yeah, we were making fun the other day because Zoom, if technically I
Yes.
could be sitting here, naked from the bottom down and Winnie the Poohing it, but yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Oh my gosh. So what are other ways that contribute to imbalances?
Yeah. So once again, I go back to the gut. So if we're especially like yeast, but it can happen with anything. If we have an imbalance of bacteria or yeast in the gut, you're treating the vagina, but then it's coming back because you still have an overgrowth of those things in the gut. And like I said, everything's so close. So it's really taking a look at the diet. That's really the key to healthy pelvic health because,
I'm sorry, say that one more time louder.
I know. It's really looking at the diet. And I think really I could honestly sit here and say confidently that 90% of medical conditions are either caused or worsened by gut health. I think, it all starts in the gut and that everything else is aggravated by that. So, didn't evolve to be eating processed foods. I always tell people, let's start with the simple things first, cutting them out. And some of these, go in and out of favor of how bad they are. Processed foods are my big no. Like, let's try to stay. Like, I say, if something walks, swims, flies, or grows, that should be your criteria for eating them. And Twinkies don't grow on trees, so you can get rid of the Twinkies. So,
Yeah.
but cutting out processed food, cutting out sugars, cutting out gluten and dairy. And like I said, sometimes the gluten and dairy, I go back and forth on those, because the dairy one is going through a phase right now where some of the research is like, well, dairy is not as bad as what we thought was. But I just say those tend to be the things that people have the most problems with. And if you give those up and then slowly add them back and see, but usually the sugar is definitely a problem. And it's actually really funny. I'm doing a lecture right now for the National Association of Nutrition Practitioners that will be speaking at their conference in May. And I've been doing a lot of more research on the microbiome. And the crazy thing is, I've always looked at this as, the microbiome causing all these health problems, but we're also looking at the microbiome actually affecting our behavior, and
Absolutely.
almost like they're puppet masters.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, I know that yeast can cause you to have sugar cravings, and something called Prevotella can cause you to have sugar cravings. But to think about, like, your cravings might not be you, that there's might be little microbes inside of you that's telling your brain, like, eat this because that's what I want to eat.
Feed
Like,
me, Seymour.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah,
crazy.
there's a whole summit right now going on microbes and mental health, and absolutely. They said it's all very fascinating how connected it is, and just how asinine, like what we've done to the
Yeah.
microbial phase, the getting away from real foods and processed foods, even stuff from like formula, right? Getting away from
Yes.
breastfeeding and feeding, like, why on earth did that ever think that that was going to be an okay to feed a baby a bunch of processed soy laden crap, and shame women for breastfeeding, that's what they were intended to do.
I saw something that your microbiome is formed within your first 1,000 days of life. And so if we're like messing up our kids' microbiome, we could be setting them up for like a life of disease, which
Absolutely.
is crazy. Yeah. And then,
Absolutely.
and the other thing is really interesting is the microbiome being connected to your sex drive. And this has been a fun finding. And it can happen either like men and women both on the gut. So if the gut microbiome is off, the body senses that there's something inflamed, and this is when,
Mm.
your sympathetic nervous system kicks in when you're under attack, which is basically what's happening if your gut is off. And that's, sympathetic is our like fight or flight. It's not the time to be resting, digesting, and having sex. So we're
Yep.
not going to be like, in the savannah, we're walking across the savannah, a lion jumps out. We're not going to be like, excuse me, Mr. Lion, why I have sex with my partner here and eat a hamburger at the same time. Like, it's not that, because you'd be dead.
Right.
So, it's really, so they're finding out if the gut microbiome is off, there's a feedback loop through the vagus nerve to the brain going, okay, let's shut down all processes of reproduction. And so your brain doesn't know the difference between you want to actively try to make a baby versus you want to have some fun. So everything gets shut down. So fertility gets shut down, sex drive gets shut down, all your sex hormones get shut down. And they're also seeing the same feedback loop for women with the vagina, that if the vagina is off, that is a feedback loop to the brain, like, okay, let's shut things up, let's shut things down. And I say more often than not, women are coming into the office asking for hormones
I was
because
just
they
gonna
think
say, yeah.
hormones are the answer when they're not. It's a tool, but it's not necessarily the answer.
Right. It's a
So,
band. Well, it could just be a band-aid, because if they don't get to the root cause of where those issues are coming from, and at some point, even those tools stop working, or you need more of those tools, and then you need tools on top of the tools. And it always goes back to, like, I can't think of one episode I've done lately that literally the sympathetic stuff has not come up. Like, we
yeah.
really are starting to figure out that we can't exist in this high stress freaking lifestyle anymore on high alert. Like, it's killing us, literally, like slowly killing us.
And it's this catch-22 because it's like, okay, we go, oh, it's the bad food that's causing our microbiome to be off. Well, yes. And it's also if we're stressed, that'll throw off our microbiome. And if we're stressed, that throws off our microbiome. Now we got bacteria that's saying, like, let's eat some more candy, So then it becomes this circular thing. And it's like, okay, let's get off this crazy hamster wheel of inflammation. So
and it's just sad because life is not set up for health. Like, thank God we can go to places like when we were at, Mindshare, and very few conferences or anything outside of my home can I go and get healthy food, without seed oils, without grains, without mold, right?
yeah.
People with their perfumes and cigarette smoke, like all these things that we get bombarded with. It can be very isolating feeling, right? To live a healthier lifestyle these days because it's not set up that way.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Do you have any kind of hacks when you travel?
It's funny. I have, yes, because I also found over the years, I had a gut microbiome issue, which caused me to have depression and anxiety and gained weight and had immune issues. And once I finally figured out that was the problem and rebalanced my gut, I really started looking at my diet. And so when I travel now, I have to say Instacart is like my best friend. Because I used to bring food with me, but that's a pain in the butt to be traveling with your own food.
Right.
So now what I do is when I get places, most places I'm able to get Instacart and I have food delivered. And most places I can get a little refrigerator, or if not, one of the tricks of the hotels are like, I'm on a special diet, or tell them you have medication that needs to be refrigerated. And they have to bring you a refrigerator. And so I will stock my refrigerator with healthy foods. And so, because I don't always know what the conferences are going to have or where I'm traveling. And then, so at least the majority of my meals are healthy. And then I can, mix in a little bit of whatever's at the conferences.
I like the Instacart idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'm on the plane and I'm like, if I get the internet, like I'll like start putting things in my cart. So the moment like I hit the ground, I'll be like, yes, Instacart. But sometimes if I'm in a hotel, I don't always know what room I'm staying in. So
gotcha. Fascinating. I love that idea. Thank you. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
So, what are some top vaginal health things? I mean, we talked about looking at gut health. What are one or two more things that you can kind of throw out there before we wrap up?
Well, one of the things that's really simple and easy is looking at vaginal pH. I actually created a whole course. It's called the Vagina Refresh course. It's like 2 weeks to reset your vagina. Like it's, I get frustrated with my computer. What do? I would just reboot my computer. Well, we can reboot the vagina. And one of the things that we do in that course is look at pH. And you can get pH strips pretty much anywhere. So the healthy pH of the vagina is about 3.5 to 4.5. So you know that if you're in that range, things are good. If you're out of that range, it usually tends to be higher. The vagina becomes more basic. Then we start having issues. And then there's a lot of other techniques to kind of rebalance the vagina. But another thing that I travel with all the time is PhD Feminine Health. It's a company that makes boric acid suppositories. And so boric acid just helps to acidify the vagina, it's a one trick to bring things back in balance. So I travel with it. If I'm in my yoga pants too long, I might use one of those. If I'm in a bathing suit all day, that's a trick. Throw one of those things in to help acidify the vagina to try to because if the vagina is acidic, it's going to invite all the good bacteria in. If the pH starts to change from stress, from antibiotics, from a poor diet, sometimes those hormonal things like pregnancy and breastfeeding and
well, you even said, like you said, your period, right around your period, you were always getting yeast infections.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, check with your doctor first. But yeah, those are things that you can use.
Boric acid, that's not the same thing as borax, is it?
Yes, but I wouldn't use it is, and I wouldn't take borax, because there's so many different companies that make boric acid suppositories. As a doctor, I used to have to make compounding pharmacies make them up for me, and now it's over the counter. Though I have gotten some questions. People are like, "Isn't that like ant killer or cockroach killer?" And I'm like, yes, they have used boric acid in some like natural insecticides, but boric acid is like an element that has been used forever for health purposes. I mean, they've used it as an eye wash to help balance the pH in the eye. So there are ways to use it.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're not putting cockroach killer in your vagina. That's not
What was the brand name of that again?
I like PhD Feminine Health because they were the first, they're women, all women owned, and they were the first company on the market to bring this. Honestly, the woman who started the company had this problem herself and was like, I need a way to fix it. And so she was the person that brought it to the forefront, was able to bring it on the market. So
Well, that's
yeah.
brilliant because sometimes I can kind of tell that things are starting to go a little sideways. Either I've worn my yoga pants too long, right? Been hot and sweaty. And that's like, I feel like I need something to switch this before it goes to the bad place. I was always kind of using coconut oil too. Have you?
Yeah, and coconut oil is also antimicrobial, but sometimes it can affect the good bacteria too. So sometimes, but I always tell people, because there's some people out there's some gynecologists out there that are anti coconut oil. I'm like, I've had patients use coconut oil as a lubricant, never had problems. I'm like, if you don't have problems with it, it's fine. If you have problems with it, maybe try something else. But and that's the thing, here's the other thing about with women, we get very self-conscious about our odor. And there's all these terrible adult jokes about women and smelling like
Like
fish.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you smell like fish, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because the fish smell is coming from a certain type of bacteria. And so there's certain bacteria that release a chemical called amines, and amines smell fishy. So actually a way to test it is because the vaginal tissue is if you don't notice the odor yourself, you can actually take soap, because soap is very basic. And when you mix like a little bit of soap with vaginal secretions, it'll break open that bacteria. And if it smells like fish, you're like, oh, I have that bacteria there. And so sometimes even just balancing out the pH will chase away that bad bacteria. Sometimes we need to do a little bit more, whether that's antibiotics or even balancing out the gut to get things back in balance.
Hmm.
So
I thought
yeah.
antibiotics were usually the reasons we had these problems to begin with.
Yeah. So I would say if you can avoid oral antibiotics as much as possible, do so. But there are sometimes vaginal antibiotics that we can put directly. But this comes going back to the bladder infections. One of the most common antibiotics that is used for bladder infections is Cipro or ciprofloxacin. That can throw your gut microbiome off for a whole entire year just after one course.
Oh God.
So, I mean, if you have a bladder infection, like you don't want to be waiting that out, but I would ask for something more mild. The idea is go to a doctor, have them test the urine. I mean, it sometimes takes a couple days to get the identification of what that bacteria is that's causing the problem. But if they can identify what's causing the problem and give an antibiotic specifically to that bacteria versus like giving you it's basically, giving you like a nuclear bomb when all you need is just like a little, a bullet, so
Right.
and so many people are just like, will call up their doctors, like, just give me an antibiotic. No, like you're going to just cause so many more problems for yourself. And even like, potentially for years to come, have issues, not only with the pelvic health, but throwing off your gut, causing inflammation, affecting your sex drive, affecting your mental health, affecting your immune system. Like, why would we want to do that if we didn't have to?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Amen. Hey, so we're coming up to the shameless plug time. Like, what are you working on right now? Do you have anything coming out? Like, what do you want to plug?
Yeah, I do. I'm so excited. So coming up May 18th through 21st of 2023 is our second Happy Vagina Rally. And so the website this time around, though, is happyvrally.com. And I will also give Heather, you'll get a link. I would encourage you to use Heather's specific link. But if you want to just kind of look at the website, it's a 4-day summit. I have 45-ish. We were supposed to have 30, but I kind of lost track of all the speakers I had. Now it's like, I think it's up to like 40 something speakers talking all about pelvic health, talking about sex, talking about women's health. We have even people just talking about hair health or like frequencies of energy. And we have a lot of different things covered. So that's coming up in May. I'm really excited about that. And the other thing is specifically follow me on Instagram at Dr. Betsy Greenleaf _ because that's my second Instagram account. I got kicked off the first time for doing
maybe that's why I haven't seen you in a while. So what was that again?
Yeah, it's Dr. Betsy Greenleaf _ because the Instagram gods did not like one of my posts on vaginitis. So apparently I got deleted. So I'm working on my second one. So I need some help.
Oh gosh. And I know that's like some
it was painful.
It's so painful. I can't get over how long it's taken me to get up to 1,500 followers on Instagram. I'm like, damn, I thought this was way easier than this.
It is very tough. And then to start from scratch, I thought it was a funny post. It was a cat licking itself. And I said, have you ever ... And it was all about vaginitis, but I didn't know you can't say the word you. YOU goes against their anti-bullying policy. Because it singles the reader out and makes them feel bullied. So I got kicked off by going against our anti-bullying policy. I'm like, really? For real?
There's no repercussion, like it's just crazy that's just it. Like one and done, like all your hard work.
They take that anti-bullying policy thing seriously. Yeah.
So if you're listening, make sure when you're writing copy, don't use you in your copy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Jeez.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, make sure to check out TheLymeBoss.com as well and download your free cooking series. As we're talking about food and diet, right? I put a cooking series together, real cooking for real life, beautiful, healthy meals in 20 minutes or less. And also don't forget to like and share and subscribe and share all this beautiful information, because that's why we're putting it out here, is so that, somebody can learn something and no longer, like I said, suffer in silence or shame or any of the stuff that doesn't need to happen anymore. Like it's time, especially for women's empowerment and getting a hold of women's health and women's issues. And it's time. So no more playing in the dark for us. And thank you, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, for everything that you do.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a healthy day.